about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of the most exciting and innovative things that we were expecting after the next election was what was going to come from DOGE. And it was exciting to think that finally somebody was going to be auditing the U.S. government. And they say they audit, but here's somebody from the outside, Elon Musk, coming in, looking at the waste, fraud, and abuse of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, government contracts, and it was going to be huge. It was huge. He found a lot, and I was surprised that he was spending so much time in Washington. I thought he had other businesses. He does have other businesses. But when you have somebody like that, that's, a workaholic, you give me a task, that task is front and center. And wow, for 5 months, or the first 4 months of Donald Trump's presidency, you saw him all the time. And the stuff he found, and people 35 years old, technically on the Social Security payroll, and the things he was finding, we knew existed, but he actually brought it to light. Well, in an interview, he told Katie Miller on her podcast that DOGE was somewhat successful. Now, I thought in one respect it was very successful. On the other end, he had to leave at the end of May to go back to, it was supposed to sunset, by the way, DOGE was supposed to end by July 4th, from what I was understanding. And it could have been the media outlet misrepresented the date, but I thought that DOGE because he didn't have, time to be in Washington for years on end, that the work he was going to do, and originally Vivek Ramaswamy and his team was going to find the waste, fraud, abuse early on, and then we were going to fix it. Didn't necessarily have to be an ongoing thing. Well, he had issues with Tesla. People were burning his cars, threatening him, shares dropping. He had to go back to work. Plus, his relationship with Donald Trump started to sour. So he illustrates that, and summarizes that experience as somewhat successful. But he seemed really dissatisfied with politics. I think he thought, and I was hoping, that he comes in and says, look, this is waste, this is waste, this is waste. We stop it, and we stop it now. And it was found, but what happened after that? He said he wouldn't take on the project again. He said, instead of doing DOGE, I would have worked at my companies, essentially, and they wouldn't have been burning the cars. So it shows that he did not like the fact that people were starting to destroy his dealerships. Now, the Department of Government Efficiency, he said, was a made-up name based on internet suggestions. DOGE was a meme. And wasn't there a dog, Doge? There was like some, I think that's where I think what happens is they come up with the name and then they work the acronym, they make it fit. But the Department of Government Efficiency, I think it's brilliant. I liked it because I'm tired of seeing the waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm tired of seeing it in healthcare. I'm tired of seeing it in academia. I mean, we waste so much. So when asked about his time in D.C., he said, I wouldn't say I was super illusioned to begin with. He says, I guess it's just like you really want the least amount done by government possible, the least amount. He said the biggest issue is there are massive transfer payments going to illegal immigrants. Now, this, I guess, feeds into the conspiracy theory that migrants are being paid to come to the United States in vast numbers and fast-tracked to citizenship. He said because of that, he claimed those people are beholden to government payments and voting hard left. Now, he called it voter importation. Now, he brings up Elon Omar. This is according to Axios. So look at Elon Omar, who was literally voted into power, voted into Congress by a large group of people from Somalia who are in Minnesota, which is really far from Somalia. Musk claimed New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani was voted by a majority of people who are not born in America. So, he also brought up California, say Democratic-led California is in a big-time situation. He goes, I don't know. We just don't want to turn into a communist hellhole, basically. So he's got a lot going on with SpaceX, Tesla, etc. It's just, I think what frustrated him is he did all this great, he found a bunch of stuff. And then what? What happens? He wanted to translate that into trillions of dollars going back to taxpayers. And I think taxpayers were also interested in that too. But when you stop a government contract from future payments, I mean, you're saving money. But how do you get that money and turn it around? I mean, I would like to see the money that they found going to Social Security recipients that weren't supposed to get it, or SNAP benefits or whatever, that, deceased people. I'd like to see that money come back to taxpayers. But the government debt is so big, people are saying, well, just buy down the government debt. So I think DOGE was successful. I think it did find a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. It couldn't be led by Elon Musk permanently because he's got businesses to do. He has astronauts to save. But I think it really shocked him that something that should have been so bipartisanly acceptable turned him into this villain, made him look like a villain. I mean, he was the Democratic poster child as it pertained to electric vehicles. And then all of a sudden, he wants to help Trump stop waste, fraud, and abuse, and now he's a bad guy. And people are keying Teslas and getting rid of their Teslas. I think Sheryl Crow was very vocal about selling her Tesla. So, it's politics suck. Everybody always says, go into politics, Dr. Dahlia, go into politics. Well, no, because I want to get stuff done. And if I'm not going to get stuff done in politics because of all the bureaucracy and BS, then it's a waste of my time and it's a waste of your vote. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Dahlia. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
gay apparel full of love. Okay, you guys don't want to hear my singing. Oh, I could be singing all day long. I'm actually really, really excited about this next segment. Big thanks, first of all, to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. Big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So this will be Christmas early, although even though it's Christmas now, but fentanyl vaccine, a vaccine that can help prevent fentanyl-related overdoses. Now, back in 2023, about 72,000 people died in America from fentanyl overdosing. I don't believe we have recent 25 numbers. 25 were still in 2025, but those are just of those that we were able to identify. Unfortunately, there's probably more. So when we're looking at tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of individuals overdosing, not just alone on fentanyl, but narcotics, we need to do something. Well, Narcan, which reverses and blocks the opioid from attaching to the mu receptor in the brain, absolutely phenomenal. Also a game changer. But even though we've increased access to it, we have it over the counter. Doctors are writing Narcan, and so you could have that if you do get a narcotic prescription. Sometimes one spray isn't enough. Now, there's the boxes oftentimes have 2 sprays, but if you have a really severe overdose, you're going to need more. In fact, in the ER setting, we don't just give you your Narcan spray and then go. We watch you because, unfortunately, once those get, I guess, shall we say, booted off like musical chairs from more of the narcotic trying to hijack the brain, shall we say, you could go back into a respiratory depression and die. So oftentimes we have to give another dose and another dose. And so many individuals, who might not have access to this or think that what they have is enough, it could be grossly insufficient. And so we need to find another way to protect individuals who are exposed to this. Not to mention, you have individuals that are purposefully doing fentanyl or narcotics, but you have other people that are getting poisoned and unintentionally being exposed to this. That's some scary stuff. So if somebody says, well, I don't have Narcan on me because I don't do narcotics, I don't do fentanyl. Yeah, but if you take, a marijuana roach that was laced and now you're exposed, you could die. So this is something that is a need. And a biotech company is trying to fill this void. The CEO of this biotech company called Armor Sciences, ARMR, is developing a vaccine. Fentanyl, according to the DEA, was responsible for nearly 70% of overdose deaths. According to AOL, again, back in 2023, this is where most of our data is coming from. And they say in some parts of the country, it may be more likely to see a box of overdosing counteracting Narcan on the wall of a public place than a defib. We're seeing, I don't see a lot of AEDs, but I see Narcan. In fact, some cities were putting Narcan in rest areas, but people are stealing them. So if you think there's going to be some Narcan there at like a rest area, got to have your own just in case. So Colin Gage, the CEO, is now helping develop with his team a vaccine. So unlike Narcan, which reverses the effects of overdoses, this vaccine would produce antibodies to block the fentanyl from going near the brain or blood-brain barrier. This is pretty damn cool. And as he says, it will completely change the paradigm for how individuals respond to overdoses, because you wouldn't necessarily now have to be carrying Narcan or running out of it. So they say the proposed vaccine would eliminate fentanyl in the bloodstream before it reaches the brain. To keep it out of the brain, it would prevent the drug from causing respiratory failure and death. And so fentanyl in and of itself will not induce your immune system. Now, a lot of the drugs we have, the majority we can manage. There's some drugs that will produce an immune response, and we are allergic to some drugs. But they say with fentanyl, it doesn't necessarily trigger an autoimmune response. So what the biotech company wants to do is attach a carrier protein to a fentanyl-like molecule. That will teach the body to, when it does see fentanyl, to react. Now, this will prompt the body to make counteractive antibodies that will recognize real fentanyl as a threat. Now, I know some of you are going, well, wait a second. Does that mean it's going to put somebody into anaphylaxis? Hope not. I think what it means is it would just bind it, block it, and then take it to where it could get metabolized and then destroyed in the body. Of course, the clinical trials are going to have to look at if there would be an anaphylaxis or allergic reaction. So the trials are going to start, I think, next month in 40 healthy adults at the Center for Human Drug Research in the Netherlands. This would be an injection form, or they are thinking of an oral form. Now, Sharon Levy, addiction specialist at Boston Children's Hospital and advisor to Armour, told Wired and AOL that she believed that there would be demographics willing to accept a fentanyl vaccine. She said that teenagers and young adults who might accidentally be exposed to fentanyl, if the drug is cut into another drug without the user knowing, they have been obviously receptive to wanting to protect themselves. Parents who lost kids to overdoses are enthusiastic. People in treatment right now for opioid use disorders. So, the trials are going to, start next month. In rat trials, when they used rats, they said that the vaccines blocked 92 to 98% of the fentanyl from entering the animal's brain. The protection lasted 20 weeks in the rats. So they say if you extrapolate that to humans, that could be like tens of years, multiple decades. So I like the idea. Of course, I want to make sure it doesn't induce an anaphylaxis. But if somebody is in an environment where they feel that they are going to be exposed to fentanyl, I mean, this would be great for our first responders who get exposed to fentanyl and then have reactions. I think it's wonderful. We still, though, have the problem with what about those who are using the fentanyl on purpose? If somebody is using the drug on purpose, they're not going to want to limit their buzz or their high. First responders and police and nurses and doctors are always prepared to be assaulted by somebody they are reviving with Narcan, because people will come out of it. You're saving their life, but they'll be very combative because they spent a lot of money for that high that you are now reversing to save their life. And so the next question is we have individuals who are going to want this, who may have inadvertent protection, or those who are trying to get through treatment on their own. But what about those who are like, no, this is what I want. I'm addicted. That's going to be tricky because, we're not going to vaccinate people, without their choice. I mean, look at what happened with COVID and the mandates. That's, so we do have an opioid epidemic. And whether it's from China, whether it's from cartels, whether it's from people starting off with Lortab, hydrocodone, then going to oxycodone, and then going to OxyContin, and then going to fentanyl. There's a whole variety of reasons why people are addicted to pain medication. And one of the number one reasons I see in my medical realm of things is it's very painful to go through narcotic withdrawal. And so people are using the medication not to get high at some point, but they're doing it because withdrawing is so painful and so debilitating that they can't live or function. Same thing with those who drink alcohol. I always get asked by people, because we've had friends who had died of alcohol poisoning. Why would they do that? Why would they drink? Why would they? Well, because it's not that they liked the drinking. It's that if they didn't, their body's withdrawal was so painful and so punishing that they were just trying to get to a functional level. And they were using that alcohol or using fentanyl to function. And every person I have talked to, every patient who actually became addicted to pain medication, they didn't want to be. Maybe it started out having fun. I had one patient who said the reason why he was using it is because, he really couldn't stand the customers he had to work with every day. And the narcotic helped him as like a happy pill. Well, get a new job. Don't use. But a lot of people, they're using it not for pain. They're using it for a buzz. They're using it because it stops their coughing. They're using it for their bowel issues. And we have a sleep epidemic, insomnia epidemic. So people are using narcotics to sleep. So this is a great start. I think the vaccine is great, but we're going to have to collectively come up with ways to address who's in pain, why they're in pain. If you're taking pain because of anxiety and depression, we could deal with that. If you're taking pain because you got a really, really bad knee and it's waking you up in your sleep, we got something for that. So it's going to take time, but we're getting there. And we got to stop the drugs from coming into the country too. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
Back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. Okay, this caught my eye. I know some people have been talking about this, and it's... when these things go viral, I think people make a bigger deal about things than they are. So there's this concept called the funeral theory, and I'm not sure who gets credit for it, but there's this concept that if you die, the average funeral only has 10 people cry at your funeral. And people are talking about this on TikTok and on social media, that if only 10 people are going to cry at your funeral, then on one end, maybe you should be trying to touch more lives. Or B, if they don't even care about you anyway, why do you care about them? And so this funeral theory can go both ways. And so the idea of, and I don't know if I want to call it the funeral theory, but I kind of like that terminology, because one thing I've talked to with patients and I've talked to with family members, and we've even talked about this on your show, on the show, on your show, my show. Yeah, you guys should probably all have shows now too. Let's say somebody really, really is mad that their boyfriend dumps them. So mad, and like, you know what? I'm going to kill myself. And he is going to regret it the rest of his life. He is going to feel horrible from it. And, I describe the pass the salt, where people might talk about it at the dinner table after you die. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, she killed herself after the breakup. Oh, that's horrible. All right, well, pass the salt. And then move on. So I call it the pass the salt theory, where, and by the way, you guys shouldn't be adding salt to your food, but that's another subject for here and there, where you're thinking that when you're gone, the world is going to just fall apart. And some people, they're going to grieve for life. They will. Other people, they're going to move on. They're going to just move on. And so when you, if you are doing your life and thinking about your life because you're like, well, you know what? This person will be at my funeral, or this person, God forbid, this person will be destroyed by my, you might want to rethink things. And you might want to do the Trump theory. Now, what's the Trump theory? Well, the Trump theory is after I left office, half the country seemed to forget. And then more people started to forget, and things got reversed, like the wall or whatever. And so now he's trying to do things in this administration that can't be undone, like the Trump accounts. His name will always be on that. He might make Trump hair. He might, so he's going to try to design things that can't be reversed easily so people will remember him. Well, if that's what you're into, being remembered, then, you might want to rethink how you're doing things. And so I don't mind this whole idea of let's think about this now. People always get freaked out. They go, oh, you're going to jinx it. Don't talk about death. In fact, my family never got life insurance. And when I would ask them, they go, no. That's bad luck. You're jinxing. Yeah, it's bad luck for me because if you don't have life insurance, I got to pay. And that's exactly what happened. My dad didn't have life insurance. I had to pay for the funeral, take care of my mom. I'm like, yeah, it's not bad luck for you. You died anyway. You could have gotten that life insurance, but yeah, they didn't. And so a lot of people say, well, you can't talk about death. You can't. I think it's very important. If you're going to live, you need to kind of prepare for death, because if you understand what's going to happen in death, then you might live life better. For some people, they look at heaven and hell. Like, well, I don't want to be in hell. I don't want to be next to Hitler. I want to be in heaven. I want to work side by side with God and his angels and whatever. So maybe I want to do things better. And I've said this. I don't want a funeral. I want an honor party where last year we spoke about how somebody had cancer, and it was terminal cancer. And rather than waiting for them to die, have a funeral, while she was still feeling okay, they had a party. And then everybody kind of honored her. So she got to basically see her funeral. Now, I think they called it a live funeral. I call it an honor party. Now, I don't want to be gone and then watching from above or from below, if I even get a chance to hear go, oh, I miss Dahlia. Oh, she was good. Her show was so wonderful. Who knows? Maybe somebody will be there that says that. Her show sucked. I'm sure that might be said too. Why wait? Now, if you really love me and you're going to miss me, well, then let's just do an honor party. It's not a birthday party. It's let's talk. Now, there's roasts and all that, but let's say you do have somebody that, God forbid, may not be with us much longer. Do an honor party for them. Let them see, celebrate their lives. I also told my husband, God forbid anything happens to me, I don't want a sad funeral. I want it to be a party. Open bar. I want people to have fun. I don't want people crying. I doubt there'd be people crying. And that's also good too. That's a great fail-safe. If you want to save face, nobody cried at Dahlia's funeral. Well, remember, she told us not to. So there'll be signs, etc. But, we think that either people care about us more than they do, or we treat people badly where they're happy when we're gone. And that's not cool, and so, with your loved ones and with your friends, I would recommend that you have these conversations. Say, look, you are the world to me. And God forbid anything happens to you, I don't know how I would go on. But, what would you like me to do? Yeah, do you want a scholarship? Do you want I don't want to just sit in my room and cry. My husband and I have had conversations, about remarrying, and, so he's like, so, if I go and you want to, sure, absolutely, thank you. No, I'm not remarrying. God forbid, I'm not remarrying. But I told him, find somebody, because you're going to need somebody to do this. You're not going to be able to do it alone, okay? Because you're going to need somebody. You have my blessing, trust me, because I want you to flourish. I want you to be happy. Now, I know people think, oh, I want somebody to sit in a room and cry and be in a shroud. And, you do want to know that people missed you. But there's other ways to do that. I want you guys to set up a scholarship fund that goes to, needy children. Or I want, like I told my family, I want them to continue National Blood Donation Week. I go, if God forbid anything happens to me, if you really want to honor me, keep National Blood Donation Week going on, because that's saving lives. That's my legacy. So do that. And so, and then start building your legacy. Now, if you're like, I don't even know what to do, write a book, write a song. These are things that can last forever. So go ahead and do that. Even if it's a book that you don't think other people want to read, put it down. Let's say it's about your family. Let's say you want to give advice to your loved ones. You could publish a book. It doesn't have to be out there in public. You can make the book, give it to your family. I think one thing that a lot of families should have done that never did was a cookbook. See, how I cook is I don't follow directions. I just throw stuff in and it tastes good. And so I get that it's hard, but imagine some of the recipes that my German grandmother had, and my great grandmother, and some of my relatives from Austria and Russia. What did they make? Gosh, it would be wonderful if I could recreate some of those dishes. Those are things that allow that memory to live on. But another thing that I urge you all to do is spread kindness, not just during Christmas, Hanukkah time, but be a positive person. Because I got to tell you, those memories live on. So if you do something really, or you give some good advice, or you say something that they think about that, and it helps. So, all right, don't be panicked about only 10 people crying at your funeral. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the Obamacare subsidies are now the focus of, I guess, the remaining days in this legislative session of 2025. And the Obamacare subsidies have been kind of the bane of our existence, because rather than the money going to the patients, the money is going to insurance companies. Insurance companies just keep raising the rates. And so the Democrats want to extend the Obamacare subsidies for another 3 years. Republicans are like, look, we'll talk about something temporary, but we need to, this isn't working. It's just not. Insurance companies are getting trillions of dollars, and we don't have, the premiums going down or the deductibles going down. And the average person does not have health insurance. It's too expensive. So what Republicans have suggested, because they need to, we can't just say repeal and replace Obamacare without having another plan. And if Republicans don't have a plan and Democrats don't have a plan, it's just going to be Obamacare. So one thing that the GOP has suggested is that they are going to fund health savings accounts. So rather than the thousands of dollars for somebody's insurance premiums to go to the insurance company, they're going to give everybody between, I think, 18 and 49, $1,000 into a health savings account, and then $1,500 for those under from 50 to 64. And then you could use that money either for your deductible, for your x-ray, for your medications, and you still could get insurance. But now that the faucet is turned off and the gravy train is turned off for the insurance companies, if they want your business, they're going to have to lower the rates. Just like if an x-ray company or a lab wants your business, they're going to have to lower the rates. So one concern that Republicans have had as it pertains to the Obamacare subsidies is fraud. And apparently there was a study where they looked at fake individuals. They actually, I think they trialed fake individuals, and if they were able to get Obamacare and get the Obamacare insurance and the subsidies going to the insurance company. And in this study, they found that, yes, they were able to have fraudulent, non-existing people that weren't checked and verified accessing this. Now, states are hitting back, and many states are saying if there's fraud, no, we're not seeing that as an issue. That the Obamacare subsidies and the state's enhanced Obamacare subsidies aren't fraudulent. Now, most of the 20 states that run their own exchanges, they say they're fraud-proofing. According to a spokesperson for Kentucky's insurance exchange, he said, I don't think that our experience or our data shows that there's been any increase in fraud before or since the enhanced premium tax credits. According to Jessica Altman, executive director of the exchange covered California. Oh, I'm sorry, that was in California. The spokesperson for Kentucky's exchange also said in a statement they did not receive any consumer complaints from 2023 to 2025, even as complaints to healthcare.gov surged. Now, I'm also a little confused by that because if somebody is defrauding, they're probably not going to be complaining. But if somebody is using your name, that's going to probably come up. So health policy experts are saying we're not seeing fraud, yet healthcare.gov has complaints that have surged from 2023 to 2025 that there is fraud. So then what's going on here? So without the subsidies, people are going to have to pay then the full price of what the insurance is charging them. And it's ridiculous when insurance is charging. In the insurance company's defense, if they do not have healthy people signing up because the pre-existing condition clause, which I support, I think we did need the pre-existing condition clause, but if healthy people are not buying insurance and the majority of their people are using the insurance and they're only paying like $1,000 a month, yet their medications, like their Ozempic or Wegovy, cost $1,000 a month, the insurance company's losing money. If you need MRIs, if you need CAT scans, if you need cancer treatment, if you need hepatitis treatment, if you have high cholesterol, diabetes, high blood pressure, that's expensive to manage. Now, insurance companies are trying to say go to telemedicine because they order fewer tests. It's cheaper if you go to telemedicine. And telemedicine is cheaper for the insurance company, cheaper for the patient. But we've had patients where they haven't gotten examined in years, and now I'm suspecting that they have a stage 3 cancer or a rectal bleed that could be from colorectal cancer. So, it's unfortunate that this is where we are today. So do I think there's fraud in the system? I wouldn't be surprised. I am sure there's fraud everywhere. I mean, it's every other week you hear somebody billing Medicare or Medicaid for services that weren't provided, coming up with dummy groups. Look at what happened with Minnesota and now Maine, that involved the Somalian community or members of the Somalian community. These reports are probably going, there's probably so much we don't know that's going on, that's happening now. And so how do we fix that? Well, the more we dole out without there being checks and balances and verification, the more we're screwed. I think one thing we could definitely save on, and we're going to talk about a little bit, are junk food going to SNAP benefits and having you reapply for your SNAP, reapply for your Medicaid and Medicare. So we know that you're still alive, that you're the one that's getting the funds, or you're the one that's getting the help, and not a deceased relative. But unfortunately, how the system works, look, you saw the mail-in ballots. They'll do there's no checks and balances, and that's a problem. So if Republicans say, look, let's give the money to the patients, that could work. Now, somebody could say, but that $1,000 a young adult is getting, or $1,500, is not going to offset the very high price of their health insurance. Well, from what I understand, if they temporarily allow some of these, and the enhanced subsidies, it enhanced in COVID. We don't really need to be enhancing. It could be the basic subsidies that we had back in 2009, but I understand with inflation and all that. But if they just temporarily and then start weaning them down, the insurance companies are going to have to find ways to get consumers. And they're going to have to lower the rates. And I don't think these insurance companies are going under. In fact, I'm seeing big, beautiful buildings with marble and columns. You feel like you're in Italy or Greece when you walk into these amazing architectural works of art. And you're like, really? And you're paying me only $2.42 for the patient? Come on, man. So on Thursday, today, Senate's going to vote on two proposals. One is a 3-year clean extension of the subsidies by the Democrats. The other is an effort from GOP Senators Bill Cassidy of Louisiana and Mike Crapo of Idaho, giving Obamacare customers a government-funded health savings account and eliminates $0 premium plans. Not sure about that. I got to look into that. But those individuals, as we spoke about yesterday, would be those who have the high catastrophic expensive plans that the HSAs, rather than giving the insurance company money for a insurance policy that you won't be able to access because it has a high deductible, you would have money in a health savings account, so go pay for your physical. Go and pay for your x-ray. Now, $1,000 doesn't get you far, but it could get you some care. And that was my biggest problem with Obamacare. You got a card in the mail. You have a card in your wallet. But are you seeing your doctor? No, my doctor closed. Well, have you found a new doctor? They're not taking new patients. They won't take my Obamacare insurance. They don't take Medicaid. I can't find a new doctor. And when they do find a doctor spends 5-10 minutes with them, can't see them again for another 6 to 8 months, if that. That's not healthcare. And it stinks because I was trained in family medicine. In family medicine, we took care of the whole family throughout the years. Not if people lost their doctor. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.